I hear voices in my head. They counsel me. They understand. They talk to me. They talk to me. They tell me things that I will do. They show me things I'll do to you. They talk to me. About Cosmere Chronicles, the podcast where we follow two first-time readers, Justin and Sheta, and chronicle their journey through Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere series. On today's episode, we'll be chronicling Mistborn, the Hero of Ages, chapters 52 through 58. So now, it is time to throw it over to the host of Cosmere Chronicles. This is Joe. Thank you, Joe. Yep, as you heard from him, it's Cosmere Chronicles time once again. I'm Joe, and I'm joined by Justin and Sheta. Hoy! Hi! Ahoy!
Ahoy, matey!
Ahoy there! How you doing today, Captain?
How vast you be this day?
I'm doing fine. And, yeah, we're here, and, I believe this should be around a, little milestone episode, because I think that this should be about a 1-year anniversary for us, roughly.
Wow. Really?
Yep. Only 20 more years to go.
Pretty crazy. Wow, I didn't know that.
Well,
I knew it's been a while. But...
Well, it all depends on how long Brandon Sanderson finished Cosmere. What do you know? They're like 20, 25 years.
Could go longer. He could have a perfect replica of his brain with tech we have in the future that will keep churning out books for eternity.
Yeah.
And then our brains will be replicated to continue reacting to it for all time.
They could never replicate me.
All right. Well, from that, let's go into random questions and shit. We'll start off with all that horrifying stuff Justin was talking about. What's your favorite sci-fi movie?
Favorite sci-fi movie? I'd say The Matrix. Lots of good action, lots of good crazy stuff. Some pseudo-intellectual philosophical stuff all over. All kinds of great stuff.
Oh, I don't want to answer. This is too much of an insight to the kind of person I am. I don't want to say. Wait a minute. These questions are just...
What are you talking about? What could possibly be bad for this question? I like The Matrix because it's cool. Oh my god, we know all his secrets.
No, but there's so many, it's a very wide range of sci-fi, and sci-fi is being generous for the kind of movies I like, because I prefer fantasy sci-fi movies, but I also like really sci-fi movies too. So I don't want to say.
I feel like you're making this question a lot harder than it needs to be.
Yeah, what are you doing? Just answer the question. Who cares?
No. Okay.
Yeah, saying your favorite Buffy ship. Yeah, I can answer that. Sci-fi movie? Nope, that's ridiculous.
For me, that's the holy trinity of who I am. Sci-fi, fantasy, coziness. All right, fine. This is an exclusive to this podcast only answer. Okay, I would say that my favorite sci-fi movie would be Avatar.
Wow, how shocking. One of the most popular movies ever made. What could be... What is wrong with you?
It's not obscure or culty, it's just pop.
Yeah, because The Matrix is so obscure.
No, that's I wouldn't even think of The Matrix as a sci-fi movie. I wouldn't count that. You don't even go into space.
You mean the movie that's about science fiction?
How is The Matrix not sci-fi?
I'm not saying it's not. I would say that that's not what I would think of right away.
It's like saying Lord of the Rings isn't fantasy because no one casts a fireball.
They might not have called it that. Okay, this is why I didn't want to answer. I knew you guys would make fun of me, and
we didn't make fun of you for your pick. I think it's a perfectly valid pick. They even use technology to go into the bodies of the things they make.
The avatars? Things they make. Oh, okay.
Well, I guess I will go with The Terminator. Another James Cameron movie.
I'm the odd man out. I'm sorry, guys. Terminator 1 or Terminator 2? Or Terminator Genesis, of course.
No. I might have to give the edge to Terminator 1, but Terminator 2 is a close second.
All right.
All right, and then here's one that I know may upset all of us. What is your favorite Michael Bay movie?
Ugh. Why are you asking that?
Yeah, what? Do I have to say
'Cause
that I like?
I know all of us dislike Michael Bay.
I want a different question. I don't want to answer this.
All right, fine.
I had a good answer though.
I don't want to answer that one.
Fine. We'll change it up.
Armageddon is what mine would be.
Ugh. All right, we'll
Maybe
just move on.
Bad Boys too. Sorry.
We'll just go with, what is your favorite class to use in Dungeons and Dragons?
There we
Favorite
go. At least
class
keep
to
it to
use.
top.
I'm going to go
Probably
with
cleric.
Warlock. Oh, you're going cleric.
Yeah, probably cleric for me.
And
Anything
I will
more?
have to go with monk. I enjoyed playing a monk. It was fun. Not as
liked
much
Warlock
power input as the
because-
others.
Yeah. See, that's what I want to hear, is why.
Yeah. Now, not as much power input as the other classes, but I really enjoyed being able to move around fast, do stuff. I was kind of like a sniper that fought up close because I could run up, punch, run away.
I liked Warlock
Yeah,
because though you only get a couple spells, you get to recharge them, short rests. But just having Eldritch Blast means you don't really need any spells because you can do so much with that. So for one cantrip and a couple weird spells, I'm going Warlock.
I like being cleric because I'm very valuable to the team, so everyone protect me. Then I can just sit and have a couple badass spells and not really worry about doing damage and stuff. Because I'll just protect the damagers. I like that.
All right. So now let's get back to Mistborn. We will start off with our review of last week's episodes. And this time we are once again going back to Sheta.
Oh, shoot.
You don't need to be as thorough. Just give a quick recap.
Well, that's great because because of what you said last time, I didn't take any notes. So, if you start me off, then I'll continue.
Last time it was the beginning of part 4. And Vin met up with Reen. That's how it started.
Okay, yeah. Find out that Ruin has been speaking to Vin using Reen's voice, and he starts talking to her while she's imprisoned in the castle, Yoman's castle, right? Elend is trying to figure out what to do with Vin being captured. Sazed and Spook and them are like trying to come up with a plan to ruin the citizen's reputation before taking him down. Soon he's looking for Vin, right? See, this is what happens when I have 0 notes. I don't remember well.
You just run through. It's all good,
Yeah.
Sheta. No matter what you do, it'll be better than mine.
Right, Tinsun's. I don't know how far he got. He either found his old bones again, and he's looking for Vin. Like,
I don't think he was in the chapters last week.
oh, really? Okay. And then we hear some bits about Ruin's body. He's looking for.
Yeah, I think the only other thing is just that I would add in is that Spook and them took Beldre captive.
Right. They were looking for an angle about how to take down the civilian, but then Beldre shows up and she tries to tell him that to not kill him, and then they just take her captured, hoping to be like, oh, even his sister comes to join us because she doesn't trust him anymore. And they're kind of giving Spook the leadership, Sazed and Breeze are, because Spook is now known as a survivor of the flames.
Yep, I think that's good. Point of inspiration.
Whew.
All right. So this week we read the next bunch of chapters. We finished off part 4 of the book. So I'll just ask you two, as usual, how'd you like these chapters this week?
I am so relieved about what happened, and I'm glad.
You're relieved about what happened?
Something
Did we
that
read
I was
different
afraid.
chapters than each other?
Well, I had a big fear this whole time about something that was going to happen, and
Oh, okay. I
yeah,
see what you're saying, and I agree with you on that. Yes.
yeah.
But are you happy that Spook started on fire?
He's the survivor, so fine.
Uh-huh. We'll see.
Yeah, he
Let's
had
not get
pewter in
ahead
the
of
past.
ourselves.
He'll be fine, Joe.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. You can believe that if you wish.
I do wish.
Okay, so we will jump into this week's chapters. Starting off, chapter 52. Near the end, the ash began to pile up in frightening amounts. I've spoken of the special microbes the Lord Ruler devised to help the world deal with the ashfalls. They did not feed on ash, really. Rather, they broke it down as an aspect of their metabolic functions. Volcanic ash itself is, actually, good for the soil, depending on what one wishes to grow. Too much of anything, however, is deadly. Water is necessary for survival, yet too much will drown. During the history of the Final Empire, the land balanced on the very knife edge of disaster via the ash. The microbes broke it down about as rapidly as it fell, but when there was so much of it that it oversaturated the soil, it became more difficult for plants to survive. In the end, the entire system fell apart. Ash fell so steadily that it smothered and killed, and the world's plant life died off. The microbes had no chance of keeping up, for they needed time and nutrients to reproduce.
Microbes, eh?
I mean, talking so scientifically.
Yeah.
All
Where
right,
are
we'll
they
get
now, I
into.
wonder?
What do you mean, where are they now?
I just have some theories about.
About the microbes?
Yeah,
They're still there, there's just too much ash for them to break down.
yeah. And they need nutrients to reproduce.
Um,
I'm talking about, but I don't. Sheta. You saying?
I'll just say later.
okay. Well, let's, alright, we'll go into the chapter proper. Alright, so Tensoon arrives in Luthadel, and he is shocked to see how run down it is. He does not know if Vin is here or not, or even who is ruling Luthadel now, since he's been gone and hasn't heard anything since before the siege ended. He listens in on some guards and hears them talking about King Penrod and the Emperor, and Tensoon worries that that means that Straff is now the Emperor. Tensoon needs to talk directly, so he goes to an area that he had heard about from Orseer before he killed him, and finds Kelsier's bones.
It's funny to me to remember just how little Tensoon is in the loop about what's going on, because things have, as he notices soon, things have changed drastically.
I liked that point of view as well.
Mm-hmm.
Me.
Like,
It's like, what's
did
going on?
Straff win?
Mm-hmm. I left the show in before the third act of the last book. Like,
Yeah.
funny.
Tensoon goes back to the guards while disguised as Kelsier, and they are obviously shocked to see him. Tensoon tells them that he is not happy with how the city is being run, but they tell him that food is scarce and that there have been riots. They tell him that King Penrod works for Emperor Elend Venture, but now Penrod has gone mad. He's talking to nothing, and he's having the Ska fight each other for food, and saying that only the strong will survive.
I'm sad we didn't get to see a close-up view of what was happening with Penrod in the city. I was really curious, but it's so funny to hear about how drastically things have changed so relatively quickly.
Yeah. I don't want to see him like that. That's too sad.
I do. Seemed like, even though he's not like that great, he seems like a relatively sensible guy. I want to see him just mad with power. The people must fight, the strong will survive. I'd also love to hear what kinds of things are being whispered in his head.
You know what? I do want to see that because I actually didn't like how he was so uppity. He's like old school nobility, so I'd like to see him.
I wouldn't
Yeah,
call him uppity, would you?
yeah. He's not uppity on purpose, but he is like, oh, I'm a noble and stuff, you know. So to see him like,
Oh, okay. When you do the voice, I see what you're saying. Just the word threw me off.
mhm. Oh yeah,
Yeah. And just a little fun fact about the section. So we go into the point of view of a different guy named Wellen, and he actually was a point of view character in the Well of Ascension. He was the guard that was in front of Set's mansion when Vin did her whole attack on it and freaked him the fuck out.
wow.
Man, he's bad at his job.
You know
Let
what this
Vin
he
get
reminds
in,
me
gives
of?
all this information to a spy.
He he reminds me of like the side characters in like the Pirates movies that are just guarding and having a little chat with their
Those
person
two
their guard.
British guys.
Yeah, those are.
The one
They're gonna
guy
end
that
up joining the crew. Yeah.
the one guy that I know is from Gareth from the British version of The Office.
Yeah, yeah.
And he also played a role in Game of Thrones. I don't remember his Game of Thrones character's name, Oral or something. He's the guy who ended up warging into an eagle after Jon kills him.
Huh? Oh,
You
oh,
don't
I think
remember
I.
that? I don't think we
Yeah, I
got
think
that
I
far in
remember.
the show.
That
I
was
don't
season.
remember, but you remember that from the book, right? Should I?
Yeah, I remember from the book, but not there.
It was like season 3 of the show, if I remember correctly. So you probably saw it, just forgot.
Yeah, I've tried to forget.
All right, it's back to chapter. Tensu asks the guards where Vin is, but neither of the men really know where she's at. They've heard rumors of where Vin and Elend are, but they don't have anything concrete. However, one of them does say that he saw Breeze, and he heard that Breeze was heading up to Orto to meet with other members of the crew. So the guard assumes that Elend and Vin are likely there. Tensoon tells the men that when the mists leave, then they should immediately find shelter underground. And they tell him that they will go to the caves that Kelsier had hid his army at. And Tensoon heads back to a warehouse to change his body, but then he is found by a group of people. They worship him, and they tell him that the king is mad. Tensoon tells them that Penrod has been taken by Ruin, so they need to gather the faithful and escape the city. He tells them that there are some guards that know where to take them. And then afterwards, Tensoon goes into a building and changes back into his wolfhound body and leaves to Orto.
Not before
And this is
taking Kelsier's bones, right? As
yeah. That's really interesting that he takes them.
yeah. How do you leave that?
It's also really interesting to see the things he's saying because we know Tensoon knows something he wants to go tell Vin. It's really interesting that we don't know what it is, but we're hearing
Yeah.
implications of it when he's like, go underground. It's not going to be safe outside when the mists come or something, whatever he said. I don't remember. Or when they leave. I don't remember.
When they
but
stop, yeah.
yeah, that's really, really fascinating because it gives us such a little insight that makes me so curious what he's going to tell her when he finds her. And it's
Yeah.
also interesting that he cares to help these people too. He doesn't just like not give a shit. Unless, of course, he's putting him down below ground. So he's like, Vin, you can use the power to absorb all the people I put below for all I know. So we'll see.
No. I love Tinsoon. I'm so glad he's back in play.
Yeah, except that he's going to the city that we know Vin is not at.
Well,
Yeah.
that doesn't matter. We still get to see him.
I am like, oh, I hope he puts on the bones in the city. That would be fun. Also, I liked that he in Kelsier's form, there he didn't know what hair he had because it's just bones, so he's just bald. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
ooh, that probably adds so much to how like holy the Kelsier looks, like like a monk or a born again person,
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
All right. Anything else from this chapter you two want to go over?
No.
I was really happy to see that. I always wondered about the Kelsier's bones, so I was really happy to see that talked about or referenced.
All right, so on to chapter 53. The pact between preservation and ruin is a thing of gods and difficult to explain in human terms. Indeed, initially, there was a stalemate between them. On one hand, each knew that only by working together could they create. On the other hand, both knew that they would never have complete satisfaction in what they created. Preservation would not be able to keep things perfect and unchanging, and ruin would not be able to completely destroy. Ruin, of course, eventually acquired the ability to end the world and gain the satisfaction he wanted. But then, that wasn't originally part of the bargain.
And a lot of very fascinating God Lord dumps in these chapters.
Yeah.
Chapter begins, and Beldre is in the cavern looking over the water, that big pool, and Spook comes down to talk to her. She says that her brother would have loved to find all this because the food supplies were getting scarcer. Spook apologizes for taking her captive, but she did just show up here. She says that her brother always said that she was too trusting. Beldre tells Spook about her past. She was a noble girl and did everything right. Her mother was barren and allowed her father to have 2 children with a maidservant. When it was revealed that Beldre was half Ska, she was taken away to be executed. But then the Lord Ruler died and everything went into chaos, and the obligators were too busy to finish off the execution. Beldre says that her brother is a good man and only wants everything to be stable and secure, but she is obviously upset by what he does. When she saw Spook save the child, she thought that he'd help, and then she came here. Beldre says that Spook and Quellion are a lot alike, and that they are both forceful and commanding. Spook says that he was only a member of Kelsier's crew by accident. He was just an observer and barely talked. The crew is nice to him, but he was pretty much ignored. Beldre asks what Vin and Elend are like. Spook tells her about their real attributes and how he had once tried to court Vin, but she rejected him. He was just forgettable Spook. Beldre tells him that she doesn't think that he's forgettable. She asks him to let her go, but he tells her that he can't. She next asks him to not kill her brother. Somehow try to help him see that he's being too extreme. And Spook says that he'll try. He leaves to go out and be seen by the people. Spook goes out with Dern to multiple bars during the night. He doesn't give much of a speech to them, but he listens to the people and hears their problems. He tells them about Quellion's murders and how Quellion secretly keeps Allomancer. The crowds cheer for Spook, and also they cheer for the downfall of Quellion. And Spook enjoys everyone cheering for him. He is able to leave behind the insignificant and forgotten Spook, and be the man that is respected. Kelsier tells Spook that they love him and that he deserves it. And that was all the confirmation that Spook needed to hear.
So all this time I've been like, well, this obviously isn't Kelsier, right from the start. But there was always a little part of me that was like, well, I don't know, maybe. That's the moment where I'm like 100%, no question whatsoever, that is not Kelsier. That is a creepy, flattering thing. Because I can't imagine he would ever say, oh, they all love you. Oh, you're so great. You should keep going.
You're so popular, Spook.
It just seems so out of character. I mean, all of this has, but that seemed like it to a ridiculous degree to me. I think it's funny that the closer we get to like what this thing wants the turning moment to be, the more it gives itself away little by little. Where before it was a lot more subtle in what it was saying, as it thinks it owns Spook, basically.
Yeah, like this scene I could easily picture in like a movie or a TV show where like Spook's there, everyone's cheering for him, and you can just see his satisfaction in his face, and then just like a voiceover of Kelsier being like, yep, this is everything. This is exactly right, or something like that. This scene would work perfectly in something.
Yeah.
I also kind of think of it kind of like The Simpsons with Ralph Wiggum and the leprechaun telling him to burn stuff at the end of the episode.
Yeah, I can see that.
Anything else about this whole chapter you two want to go over?
I liked Spook not talking that much. He must have come off really cool because he just said a couple things, and he's not like Kelsier, who's very charismatic and good at talking. Since he knows he's not that good at talking, he just says very few things. It just makes him come off much cooler than he is.
It's funny how we get to see so much of his internal thinking, and he thinks he's not that cool all the time. He says he's not that cool, but I'm like, bro, you're like the coolest guy in this book.
Yeah.
If you just didn't have internal monologues, you'd seem exactly like Kelsier.
All right. We'll go on to chapter 54. Preservation's desire to create sentient life was what eventually broke the stalemate. In order to give mankind awareness and independent thought, Preservation knew that he would have to give up part of himself, his own soul, to dwell within mankind. This would leave him just a tiny bit weaker than his opposite, Ruin. That tiny bit seemed inconsequential compared to with their total vast sums of power. However, over aeons, this tiny flaw would allow Ruin to overcome Preservation, thereby bringing an end to the world. This, then, was their bargain. Preservation got mankind the only creations that had more preservation than Ruin in them, rather than a balance. Independent life that could think and feel. In exchange, Ruin was given a promise and proof that he could bring an end to all that they had created together. It was the pact, and Preservation eventually broke it.
Again, crazy stuff. These things are more, they talk about it a little later, but they're more of like classic myth type gods than I'd imagine, with like actual,
Ooh, I never thought of it like that.
and like they make a bargain, they have actual wants and stuff. Now, in a later epigraph, they do say they may not have always been that way, but they clearly are after a point. I didn't expect that. I thought they'd be more like concepts, So it makes me really curious to learn more about them. Also, this
Yeah.
description of what makes humans different from animals and other things is very, very interesting because nothing more. It's interesting.
Yeah. I like seeing this world's version or explanation of that kind of stuff, though. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like it has more preservation than ruin. Like, I like those kind of things.
Yeah.
So the chapter begins, and Vin wakes up, and she's wearing manacles, but she is not in a cell. Her metal reserves are also completely empty. Yoman says that she presents a bit of a problem, because just a little bit of metal would allow her to kill everyone with ease. Should he gag her, keep her drugged, or kill her? And Yoman gives her some filtered water to drink. And then he gives Vin back her earring, and wonders why she wears it, since it doesn't offer her any power. Vin wonders how Yoman could be so calm, and figures that he must be a Mistborn, and has atium to burn. And Ruin tells her to kill everyone. Yoman has a messenger from Elend's camp enter, and allows Vin to answer a simple question in order to prove that she isn't a Khandra. The messenger asks what she ate the morning before she came in, and she answers eggs. Then the messenger leaves. Vin asks Yoman how long he thinks he can keep Elend placated. Elend will do what he needs to do, even if it means Vin's death. Yoman tells Vin that he is holding her so that way he can execute her. And it's not a crime of war, though. He will execute her for murder. And as she looks at him, she realizes that he means the murder of the Lord Ruler. Yoman says that he is the law in this city, but he will still allow her time to come up with and state her case. However, she will have to be careful, because he gave his men orders to kill her if it appears that she put something in her mouth that she wasn't supposed to. Ruin still tells Vin to kill everyone, and Vin wonders why. Yoman captured her and is working on Ruin's side. Why would Ruin want her to kill Yoman? She also figures that Yoman must be up to something, and that he isn't keeping her alive solely for a trial.
Well, he's sharded. That'd be my assumption. That sure sounded wrong, actually, now that I say it.
What?
He's got a shard
Did
of
you say
something in
sharded?
him. He's sharded.
Yeah.
He's got a shard of
That's
something
what I
in
thought
him.
too. I was like,
But as soon as I said it, I'm like,
Ah.
that's why he had to leave the room so quickly.
Spiked.
No.
Use the word spike. It's always
Spiked.
people are
Spiked sounds a lot more clean.
Sharted.
That would be my assumption on why he's acting a little weird.
Yoman?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't believe it.
You don't think so?
No. It's too obvious.
It could be. But we know that Ruin wants Vin around so he can, gloat to her a bit.
But
that's why I think that.
But like Vin brings up, if Yoman does have a spike in him, and he's under Ruin's control and is doing what Ruin wants, why is Ruin telling Vin to kill Yoman?
Oh, my theory on that is that's his default setting. Because I think
That's
it's
true.
too that when Ruin, this is a little later, but when Ruin's not specifically there, it's kind of just a default kill him, kill him, kill him. And then when he is there, he's a lot more specific about what he says to do. Honestly, preservation and ruin, they say it a bit later, it's not about good and evil. I don't think they can really help themselves about what they are that much.
Oh, I liked Vin too, like learning quite a bit about Ruin being stuck in that prison with him, and that those are the kind of things.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting to watch her slowly start to piece things together and get actual evidence that it can't read their minds, which is very good to know.
All right, anything else from this chapter you two want to go over?
No, not for me.
So on to chapter 55. By sacrificing most of his consciousness, Preservation created Ruin's prison, breaking their deal and trying to keep Ruin from destroying what they had created. This event left their powers again nearly balanced. Ruin imprisoned, only a trace of himself capable of leaking out. Preservation reduced to a mere wisp of what he once was, barely capable of thought and action. These two minds were, of course, independent of the raw force of their powers. Actually, I am uncertain of how thoughts and personalities came to be attached to the powers in the first place, but I believe they were not there originally, for both powers could be detached from the minds that ruled them.
Yeah, that's fascinating, and that's probably the question I'm most curious to have answered now that it was brought up.
Elend's heading back to his camp slowly, along with his new Koloss army. He's spending this time thinking about Vin. She is always the one that takes care of everything, and now she is the one that is captured. If she dies, then who will be able to solve the situation? As Elend looks around at the massive amounts of ash everywhere, he comes to the realization that they are doomed and he falls to his knees. And then Elend senses someone next to him and leaps to his feet. But he doesn't see anybody. He uses tin and he can see that the mist spirit is there. He asks what the mist spirit wants and it points to the southeast, which is away from Fadrix. He asks the mist spirit to write down what it wants. And then it writes in the ash, but what it writes down says, "I will kill you, death, death, death."
He's a seventh grader.
Elend figures out that Ruin must also be able to alter this writing. And then he has the mist spirit try to spell out the word slowly in the air, but he's not able to decipher it. He doesn't know if that's also being messed up or if mist spirit doesn't know its letters or whatnot. But Elend comes up with a system where the mist spirit will wave its arms for yes and stay still for no. And then Elend goes through a number of yes or no questions. And through these questions, we learn that the mist spirit is weaker than Ruin. We learn that it is not causing the ash falls, but Ruin is. Elend kinds of get a maybe from him for if the mist spirit is causing the mist to come out during the day. And as Elend's talking to him, the mist spirit seems to be fading. And he can tell that it wants Elend to head back to Luthadel and to not attack Fadrix City. And Elend says that the mists are killing his men, but the mist spirit stays still. The mist spirit implies that the mists are not killing his men. Elend says that he has seen his men die, but then the mist spirit points to the metal vials on Elend's sash. As the mist spirit is about to fade away completely, Elend asks if they can beat it and survive. The mist spirit gives an uncertain wave, and then evaporates.
Imagine him doing one of these, maybe.
I tried not to read it that way, but I couldn't help but imagine that.
And after all this, Elend feels stronger, and he heads back to camp with more determination. There are things he doesn't understand this world, which means that there are possibilities he cannot see for survival.
Yeah, I'm glad he devised a system to...
20 questions was fun.
Yeah, it's frustrating in that moment, because if you knew you were about to do that, I'm sure you could come up with a lot more questions, but... I mean, it implies it in the next chapter, but it's fascinating that he didn't get that much specific information, but he did get some semblance of hope, kind of, that there is some power out there, or was some power beyond humanity, which has been a theme too.
Something bigger out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not just a bunch of people fighting and dying against nothing. Yeah, seeing the Mist Spirit as a character was very interesting.
I liked hearing kind of confirmation that this is the one that stabbed you and the one that made you into a Mist Spirit and stuff, or Mistborn and stuff. This is all the same. That's the relationship that we've had with this thing for the whole time.
What's the relationship?
That he's killed Elend just to get Vin to, to motivate Vin and stuff, and that he had been helping Vin and leading her and stuff like that. We've had a pretty a good amount of scenes with this thing, to have it be here and have a real interaction where we get to ask questions and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was really fun.
Too bad Sazed's not here, because we have our evidence that there was a god watching over us this whole time, And now we know from that epigraph that it is, from our perspective as humans, God, because it created all of us, which is pretty crazy to think about, that thing was just there waving at you,
Yeah.
It's fascinating to me that this is turning into a literal, God-Satan organ situation, what's the Job story or whatever, right? Is that the one where they make the deal about if a human will fall or not?
Yeah.
Or will turn away from God? Yeah. It's really interesting to see those themes touched upon here in this big, crazy way.
Yep. We're always stuck in the middle.
But yeah, it's just funny to watch Sazed try to figure this all out while Elend just talked to God. That's basically what I'm saying.
All right. So if you have nothing more, we'll move on to chapter 56. I don't know why Preservation decided to use his last bit of life appearing to Elend before his trek back to Fadrix. From what I understand, Elend didn't really learn that much from the meeting. By then, of course, Preservation was but a shadow of himself, and that shadow was under immense destructive pressure from Ruin. Perhaps preservation, or the remnants of what he had been, wanted to get Elend alone. Or perhaps he saw Elend kneeling in that field and knew that the Emperor of Men was very close to just lying down in the ash, never to rise again. Either way, preservation did appear, and in doing so, exposed himself to Ruin's attacks. Gone were the days when preservation could turn away an Inquisitor with a bare gesture. Gone, even, were the days when he could strike a man down to bleed and die. By the time Elend saw the Mist Spirit, preservation had been barely coherent. I wonder what Elend would have done had he known that he was in the presence of a dying god, that on that night he had been the last witness of preservation's passing. If Elend had waited just a few more minutes on the ashen field, he would have seen a body, short of stature, black hair, prominent nose, fall from the mist and slump dead into the ash. As it was, the corpse was left alone to be buried in ash. The world was dying. Its gods had to die with it.
Quite a thing to follow up that little moment with. I thought it just
Yeah.
dissipated away, as it does all
That's
the time.
crazy.
Also, the idea that it has a physical body is the most bizarre thing to me.
Yeah, that's weird.
And we also, that's why Ruin leaves Vin alone, right? To go kill him, right? When she's starting to think that he's kind of distant, or is that the next chapter she starts to think that? I forget which one, but yeah. I think it's funny. We know now this thing actually needs to direct its focus at different places, which is interesting. We know now that these are embodied, like they're real, not people, but they're gods, like we think of gods, which is very strange to me. I never expected that. And but we also know he's dead, but his soul is in all of us, right? All us humans. So I wonder if that comes into play or not at all.
Yeah. So it's not quite over yet.
Well, I think that part would tie into with that earlier epigraph, talking about how thoughts and personalities were attached to the powers.
I remember.
I remember. What? How's that tie to what I said?
Well, it's like the thought and personality died, but the power is still out there.
Yeah, but I'm saying if its power's out there, and it died, what does that mean? Can that power come back together someday? I don't know yet, So I'm curious to know if it's like it gave up its power and that meant it's no longer a part of it at all, or if it gave up its power to humans and then when humans die, that power goes back to it, or if they go somewhere else, or if it's just destroyed. I'm very curious to see if we learn any of that.
Mm.
I am also very fascinated by the idea that they did not originally start as beings with a sense of self or a prominent nose, as they described it, So I'm very curious to learn all of that. I feel like there's a huge piece missing we do not have, and I'm getting quite frustrated to not have it, to have it slowly leaked to me.
Mm-hmm.
So we begin this chapter, and Spook, he's in the cavern, and he's writing up on a board plans to get Quellion to expose himself as an Allomancer. Beldre walks into his little room to visit him, and she's confused by the board since it is written in Eastern street slang. Spook speaks a little bit of it and wonders why he is always so foolish around her. Beldre tells him that he should not be ashamed of the accent or the slang because she finds it charming. She asks what the board says, and Spook at first doesn't tell her. And then he feels bad since she was always left out of Quellion's meetings, so he tells her that he is trying to figure out how to get Quellion to use his powers. He's currently leaning towards attacking Quellion, but Beldre says that won't work. He wouldn't expose himself like that. She asks Spook again to promise not to kill Quellion, and he promises her that he won't. She says that she wants to write her brother a letter, and Spook agrees to it. But he does tell her that he will have to read it first before he sends it out. And Spook will also, unknown to Beldre, rewrite the letter and rearrange parts in order to mess up any possible ciphers she tries to put in there. Gorodel grabs Spook and the rest of the crew in order to show them something. Outside the ministry building, all of Quellion's soldiers have left. Breeze tells, Gorodel to send scouts to check. And Gorodel, he looks over for Spook's confirmation before agreeing to do it. And Breeze says that Quellion is planning something. Later on, Sazed thinks about how he has crossed off another 20 religions, so now he is down to 30. And Spook comes to Sazed and informs him that the soldiers left because there are riots in the city. Spook says the city is similar to Luthadel before that city just snapped. Sazed is worried since they don't have Elend here to calm them down, but Spook says that it will be alright. Sazed has asked Spook if he is worried that they'll fail, and not just fail in the city, but everything. Sazed says they're all doomed no matter what happens. Spook admits that he doubts himself and that Tyndall would be annoyed with him since she felt that leaders should not doubt themselves. But Spook thinks that everything will be alright. And Sazed wonders what he himself is doing. He spent most of his life being at peace and confident that he was doing the right thing, but now he is telling his friends that they are all going to die. And he looks into Spook's eyes and he sees the hope in it. Spook says that faith means that it doesn't matter what happens. Trust that someone is watching and will make it all right. Faith means that there will always be a way. And Sazed knows that this is what he has lost, and it is what he needs to get back.
Mm.
I found this part so interesting because we're seeing the way Spook's acting, like, so cool in front of everyone, you know, but then we see his internal thoughts that he's kind of keeping to himself. But with Sazed, he just lets all those internal worries out, and everything Sazed said influences him so much. Like, anything that even sounds like a perceived criticism, he feels immediately really sad about. It's just crazy how much influence Sazed and the rest of the crew have over Spook when we haven't been seeing him with them that much. We've been seeing him kind of on his own. And I'm glad that Sazed realized that he was starting to, kind of hurt Spook a bit by talking like that. Like, treating him with the same harshness he'd treat some of the more self-confident characters.
This is why I love Spook. Even though he is going through these crazy changes and gaining all these powers and becoming such a big deal, he is still so humbled and, like, not that having low self-esteem is a good thing or anything, but, like, other people would think, like, yeah, I am the best. I do deserve this, and I'm going to, like, do whatever I want and stuff, Like, it just shows that he has a good heart, and Kelsier and his uncle and the crew have, like, a good influence on him that has kept him from just becoming like that.
Yeah, and he has a strong respect for others, right?
Yeah, he said he respects Sazed. He's like, Sazed is the best. He's seen, like, the advice and wisdom that Sazed's given the other characters. Kelsier looked to him, Elend and Vin looked to him and stuff like that. And Sazed hasn't really shared his loss of faith to people, so.
Yeah, Spook just assumes he's like he's always been, so when he's talking all dark like that, he's like, oh, there must be a good reason.
He's testing me. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I know that you see that I'm actually a loser.
Yeah.
Anything else in this chapter you two want to go over?
I was really liking the light influence Beldre's having on Spook, too. Not wanting him to give in to killing and all this other stuff, trying to say there's good in people and stuff like that. I was very happy to see that's the role she's playing in this whole part.
Man, the whole time I just didn't trust her.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because I was
But
like,
she's so stupid.
man, stupid is something you can totally play off, play up, I mean.
What would be the purpose?
For you to underestimate them,
No, what would be the purpose here with her, I mean?
Oh, I don't know. Some devious purpose. That I'm just like,
No, I always saw her as what she is, basically.
yeah. I thought she was strong and wanted to, well, like, I thought that she was a good person too, but that she wanted, basically what happened, like, wanted to get what the things she wanted to happen,
Yeah, which she was very upfront about as soon as she walked in,
Yeah.
It's like, here's why I'm here, here's what I hope. And then even understood why they took her hostage and stuff.
Every time, she says, every time I try to trust someone, I always get kidnapped. Like,
Yeah.
All right, so we'll go on to chapter 57. I have come to see that each power has three aspects. A physical one, which can be seen in the creations made by ruin and preservation. A spiritual one in the unseen energy that permeates all the world. And a cognitive one in the minds which controlled that energy. There is more to this, much more that even I do not yet comprehend.
Even I. So this is somebody who knows a lot about this.
yeah, I have been taking notes on who this is, because I was like, unless Ellen went home and told them about what happened, like, whoever Ellen tells about what happened with the Mist Spirit at the end there, they knew about it. So like either that came down history as something everyone knew happened,
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
that's what it felt like. Because that was a really intimate, private moment and stuff for
Or
Elend.
it's somebody who took the power, the powers and was able to just know everything.
Yeah, I thought that too. Whoever this knows everything. Just
That's
has
really
everyone's
interesting.
memories and stuff.
Why are you
I don't know
ruling?
about has everyone's memories, but
Why are you ruling out the possibility that it's not one of Elend's Kolos that is writing these
it's
epigraphs?
always
Oh, I
possible.
actually have a
Could be
theory
human.
about that. Yes, I
You
was like,
think
it's
it's a
human.
Koloss?
Yeah,
Oh
I wrote
goodness.
down that, Joe. I can't believe
I
it.
I don't know
Yeah,
about that shit. That'd be pretty extreme.
human is on his way to becoming human. Like maybe
Yeah.
human is
Humans,
the body.
True,
humans
true.
not,
I hear you.
but human was not with Elend here.
You don't need to be with them. It's all in some kind of mind space, and then all colas too can be controlled and entered and stuff like
I would
that.
be
So.
very surprised if it's a Koloss shit.
Just human with
Especially
little
since we
glasses
haven't
on, and he's
actually
like,
we haven't seen
"Hello."
humans since they did the revelation of the Koloss. I feel like he only existed to show that they were once people.
He's still out there. He's a big one.
I I'm just saying we haven't seen him since then.
Yeah, I know. Well, then whoever takes up his skin next will
Oh
know.
goodness.
So Vin's in her cell and she hears Ruin telling her to kill people. And she has been able to piece together that when Ruin's actual presence isn't there, then she simply hears basic and vague orders from him. She also realizes that she still has control about 1,000 Koloss in Elend's army, but she doesn't do anything with them because she doesn't want to tip her hand to Ruin. And then Ruin does arrive back, brings his presence back to her in order to begin taunting Vin. And she wonders why and thinks that he must expect to learn something from her. So she tries to play into this so that way she can learn stuff. She asks why he is concerned with Yoman's death, since Yoman is on Ruin's side. But Ruin tells her that everyone's on his side. Which Vin responds by saying that Elend isn't. He's a good person. Ruin tells her that even good people will kill quickly for what they want. Vin realizes Ruin is here because he is gloating. Since Ruin still has some humanity in him, that means that he can be deceived, manipulated, and broken. The way Ruin is
Really like
talking,
that observation. I'm really glad they're thinking that way. Because the
Mm.
second that it started more like people, I'm like, well, that's a huge weakness right there. You fight a person no matter how powerful they are, You cannot fight a
Yeah,
concept.
just that they'll mess up. Well, they have
Yeah.
weaknesses. Yeah, that's all.
Yep.
the way Ruin is talking, it comes across as if he has already won. And Vin thinks about how in Allomancy, there's both action and reaction. So Ruin must have an opposite. She asks Ruin what he did to his opposite, and Ruin tells her that Preservation is dead. And she thinks about how Preservation could not kill Ruin, but it could imprison him, which would be within the powers of Preservation. Vin says that Ruin could not create life, and Ruin tells her that neither could Preservation. Only the two of them working together could. They had a deal where Ruin would work with Preservation to create life, and then Ruin could destroy it when he wanted to. He then says that Preservation couldn't kill him, but only imprison him, which confirms to Vin that Ruin cannot read her mind.
Mm-hmm. I'm really glad she's thinking this way. She's thinking how I always want characters to think, where you're starting to slowly figure out what the rules are as shit's happening.
And Vin thinks about how there is still something keeping Ruin from destroying the world immediately. And Ruin tells Vin that it has come. There are days, but not weeks left. Vin realizes that he is telling her this because she has been captured, which means that there is a way to beat him, and it involves her. She has to get free quickly.
It's just weird to see Ruin a character now. Like he's talking, he's having feelings, he's gloating, he's happy. And the idea that even a thing like him wants to have his victory witnessed, wants to have somebody at least know what he did, like he's proud of his accomplishment.
And it's interesting to think about like what is that feeling of meaning if nothing is there to give it meaning.
Mm-hmm. And again, that even has a feeling of meaning and purpose and triumph,
He's so excited. Like, he's been waiting
He
for this
feels,
his entire existence, Like,
yeah. Makes me very curious.
And so we'll move on to our last chapter for the day, which is chapter 58. Once you begin to understand these things, you can see how Ruin was trapped, even though Preservation's mind was gone, expended to create the prison. Though Preservation's consciousness was mostly destroyed, his spirit and body were still in force. And, as an opposite force of Ruin, these could still prevent Ruin from destroying. Or, at least, keep him from destroying things too quickly. Once his mind was freed from its prison, the destruction accelerated quickly. Alright, so we start back with Sazed and them, and, they're in, and Sazed explained to Spook how his system that he's built will refill the canals. When they pull the switch, the canals will be filled within hours, and a section of the city may even get flooded. And Spook tells some soldiers to throw the switch when they get a messenger. If no messenger arrives, then to simply throw it at nightfall. Beldre comes up to Spook and asks if he was really going to return water to the canals, which he answers yes. Beldre asks him once again to give her brother more time, but Kelsier whispers to Spook that there is no more time. And Spook tells Beldre he's sorry and leaves. Spook and the crew are heading to a speech that Quellion is giving. This will be the night that Quellion gets deposed. Dern will have people create a disturbance, which is when Spook will go after Quellion. Spook hides within the crowd listening to the speech when he begins to hear yells in the distance. A beggar tells him that there are riots, which are not the ones that Dern caused. When Dern's disturbance does come, Spook begins his plan. This is just like the night when the Lord Ruler had been taken down, but this time Spook will be elevated in the Lord Ruler's stead, or Quellion's stead.
It's really fascinating as this thing whispers into Spook's mind how important and special he is, as his own thoughts do start to follow a little bit, thinking that grandioseness. Like, as it all starts to blend together, you really get a sense for how it is like for people like Penrod, assumedly, where it's really confusing what's a voice in your head and then what is you influenced by that voice continuing what it said. I really enjoy getting to see from this perspective because I've always wanted to see it.
The process of brainwashing,
Yeah.
Just like, yes, now I'm thinking these thoughts, because they were my feelings. Now they are my thoughts,
You thought the previous ones were your thoughts,
Right, and Spook jumps onto the stage where Quellion is, and he's going to force Quellion to use his almancy. While everything's going down, Breeze and Alrianne are using their powers to keep the crowd from running away in fear, because they want the crowd to see Quellion use his powers. On the stage, Spook fights a thug. He doesn't plan on killing him, but then he does so after Kelsier tells him to.
That freaked me out, man. And what you were saying, Sheta, about your fear of where things were going, I was starting to think that here as well,
Yeah.
Like, Spook is turning into something very evil and bad
I was
here. He's one
always
step away
afraid,
from going over the edge to being something very bad and scary.
Bad guy.
I also like this, too, because it's in the heat of the moment, It's all this life or death fighting and stuff. And you really,
Adrenaline, all this stuff.
All this stuff. And when you're just sitting there having a thing whisper in your ear, you think, oh, I'd never fall to that. But when it's in moments like this, you think, oh, I would start to fall to that. That would feel like an instinct you should follow, which is what you do in a fight. And then you think, if it keeps getting you enough times in that moment, then it's going to be really hard. Like, I mean, you could change quite a bit, just from a few precise nudges here and there to something you wouldn't even recognize. And it makes me really curious to see what the Lord Ruler's story would be like, in those kind of moments.
Yeah, I would love to see how he became the way he became too.
All right, and then Spook gets over to where Quellion's at, and he kills another thug before preparing to kill Quellion himself. And at this point, Kelsier actually appears on stage to tell Spook to kill him. He's not just a voice anymore in Spook's head. He's actually there. And Spook stops for a moment when he sees Beldre out in the crowd. And Kelsier tells Spook once again to kill Quellion. So Spook begins to go for it until he's hit in the arm with a coin. Spook looks out and sees that Beldre was the one that shot it. The crowd around her begins yelling that she was a coin shot and that Quellion was a liar. Kelsier tells Spook that she was an assassin that Quellion had sent to kill him.
See, it's starting to get desperate. That barely makes sense. And
The
yet, in
crowd
the heat of the moment.
And the crowd carries Beldre onto the stage and put her in front of Spook. And Kelsier tells Spook to kill her. If he does, then Kelsier will give Spook her power. And this does not feel right to Spook. And he takes off his blindfold and looks out to the city. And he sees that it was burning. And Spook says that this is wrong. Kelsier tells Spook that he will be stronger than Vin and Elend. And Quellion begins reaching towards Kelsier and asks why he has forsaken him.
Awkward.
That was the best part. Absolutely the best part. I was so curious to see if Quellion was,
Hey.
what word am I supposed to use?
Spiked.
Outed.
Spiked, yes. But the idea that he doesn't just see his own vision, but this, as we know now, it needs to be in one place and that two people could see it at once is really interesting to me. And it's so funny to have him saying that why have you forsaken me? Yeah.
I could not believe that.
I'm really
He had
impressed with
been whispering sweet nothings to Quellion too. I can't believe that.
I'm really impressed with Spook for picking up on all these little things that just feel wrong because I could really see in the moment just ignoring all of that, It's playing on everything he's ever wanted, to be important, to be special, to be not just Spook, all that
He's
stuff.
strong.
Mm-hmm. I do wonder how things would have gone if Beldre had not with him earlier.
Kelsier tells Spook to press Beldre to his chest and stab her through the heart with a steel spike into his own body, and he will gain her power.
That it escalates things so much right there, Jesus.
He lost it there.
Yeah, you would have lost. Yeah, somebody like Spook, no way. That sounds too crazy.
No. It's interesting. He doesn't know and take into account that Spook likes her. Like he won't do that. That's too much of a jump.
I feel like it must have some trouble understanding, positive things like love.
It's a sociopath.
Yeah. I just.
You.
It's playing on all Spook's darkest, most violent emotions. You know what I mean? I'm trying to think. Yeah, it seems to just push on those. It doesn't seem to manipulate the other side, but I'd have to go through the whole book and double check that to see if that's true.
Yes, it maybe doesn't have any context for that stuff.
Well, it thinks that death and destruction is beautiful, we know through Marcia's point of view, so I think it has a warped sense of that compared to preservations, which I assume would be what we feel, is what it feels.
Yeah, and hearing it tell him about stabbing her through her body into him, this makes it click within Spook that a thug had been stabbed through the heart, and the sword that stabbed the thug went right into Spook. This was when Spook gained the ability to burn pewter. And Spook goes over to Quellion and rips off his shirt and begins searching his body. And he finds a piece of bronze piercing the arm. So Spook rips it out, which causes both Quellion and Kelsier to scream.
He's Quellion too.
Spook reaches for the metal in his own body, and Kelsier tells him that he will go back to being weak and useless. But Spook knows that this is not right. He didn't come here to kill Quellion just to expose him, but he attacked him instead. Spook rips out the metal, and both Kelsier and his pewter powers vanish. And since he no longer has pewter, the pain and fatigue overtakes Spook. But he thinks about how her sitting is burning, and forces himself to get back up. Sazed comes up to Spook and says that they must flee the city. But Spook says no, and that they will save it. And he's going to have Gordel will go to Breeze and Alrianne, and they will prepare the fire crews once the water comes. But Beldre tells him that the water won't come. She had attacked the men watching her. And Sazed says that they will bring the water. He goes over to Quellion, and he tells Quellion that he will have to go to the people and save this city. And then Spook and Sazed head to the ministry building. Beldre follows and tends to Spook's wounds, saying that she betrayed him. But Spook tells her that she did the right thing. Something had taken him and her brother. And when they arrive at the ministry building, it is already aflame. And Spook says that he has failed. Spook thinks back to the night that Luthadel had fallen and how Kelsier left a letter behind that had given roles for everyone, but not for him. And Spook then hears in his mind, I named you, Spook. You were my friend. Isn't that enough? And so Spook heads into the burning building. He stops burning his tin, and since he had been burning it for so long, now without it, it just makes his body feel so numb that he does not feel the pain as he starts on fire. He goes through the building and he goes down to the cavern to the switch for the canals. Spook throws his weight onto the switch and moves the gears. And then Spook collapses to the ground. And that's the end of part 4.
Oh no!
I thought you said you believe he's okay, Sheta.
I didn't say that, but I was
Yeah.
glad he didn't turn evil before dying.
Mm-hmm. That would be much worse.
He was
To turn
really
evil
great.
for sure.
He even helped Quellion, like, help the people. Like, these are the things that matter, you know, not becoming king, not looking cool in front of the girl you like, you know. It's about these things.
I was surprised by that. If Quellion's going to get a redemption story, I'd be really impressed. I'm curious what the guy's like without Ruin whispering in his ear. Is he still an asshole, or is he,
Eldra said he was a
relatively
nice
normal
guy, you know?
Well, that's his sister. Of course she's going to say that,
Yeah, but he's not like an asshole, you know? He just
He's
seems like a
not
normal.
a
She thought he would
megalomaniac.
be a good king, yeah. And then stuff started happening. And
But still, if Ruin's whispering in his ear in the same way he was Spook, saying, "You deserve this. You should wear a special color. The people must know how important you are." That's kind of assholey stuff to fall for. So I don't know that I believe
not
he's that
everyone's as
great in the
strong as
first place.
Spook and has good
Yeah,
influences. He was a
but
noble.
I think that the way that people's evils manifest says a lot about the person. Like, what kind of weird dark shit is Penrod
Yeah.
holding inside if he's having people fight to the death for food, Like, it really makes... I would love to see what everyone has whispered to them, because we know Vin, it's not whispering on those things about how great and powerful she is. It's about her fears of, like, they'll betray you, they're going to hurt you, stuff like that. You need to kill them, So... So I have a hard time believing Quellion's that great, is what I'm saying.
I'm not saying he's #1 human of the year. I'm just saying.
No. But yeah, no, the book totally had me for a few moments there that Spook was going to just kill Quellion, kill Beldre, and then just fall to pure darkness completely. Start thinking, Breeze isn't that great, Says it doesn't know what he's
I
talking
never liked
about.
him. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Start to get those kind of thoughts and feelings going,
Interesting that Ruin said that. Like, I never liked Breeze because he knew Spook has always had like a bitter feelings filling Breeze's
Yep.
drink.
Very true.
Getting
Very
treated
true.
like that by him all these years, like all these kind of little resentments, and he's picking at it, kind of like a person who like wants to talk shit about people, and they kind of start talking a little bit to see if you bite,
Yeah, that's true.
It's interesting.
That's a good point. I still think it's very nice, almost to a corny degree, but I really liked it that it's Kelsier's true voice that inspires Spook to do good at the end here.
Oh yeah, I like that too.
Like,
I was
we
like,
know it's
"There's
out of him.
Kelsier for real."
Yeah, the true Kelsier. He's not all this weird, creepy shit,
And he sounded cool. He sounded way cooler than the other fake Kelsier.
I'm glad we got a moment like that. That was
I
nice.
miss him. I'm so sad.
Yeah, Kelsier's memory's been dragged through the mud by Ruin
Everyone,
and even Tensoon to a point, all this shit like that. So it's nice to have a real little moment like that.
Yeah. Gosh. How could he do this? Kelsier is one of the coolest, best heroes, and we don't get to see him anymore.
Man, just think about how different it would have been if Spook did go full evil. So, like, Spook goes evil, kills all his friends, city's burning. Then Tensoon shows up. It's like, all right, I'm here. What the hell happened?
That's
Who are you?
probably part of why.
He probably doesn't even remember Spook.
Well, I think he remembered him because he was there with them for months. But if he shows up and Spook's killed everyone, it's just like, this doesn't seem right.
I think he'd know pretty quickly Ruin got to this poor boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spook has now, like, gained, like, pewter and coin shop powers.
I'm sure he has some official Condra ways to tell that too. Like, yeah. That's not natural.
Next, Ruin has Spook start putting spikes through his eyes and he goes, like, full Inquisitor.
I could see it.
Yeah, you're not using those eyes anyway.
All right. anything else from this chapter you two want to go over?
I just feel like I should have seen Beldre being the coin shot. That seems too
I
obvious in
know. I
retrospect.
can't believe
Yeah.
that didn't become obvious. That's really cute, though. Man, I hope Spook is okay, because Beldre would totally go for it right now. Like,
I don't think so. I don't think he's okay.
yeah, he's got to be okay. He has a love waiting for him.
Yeah, very sad.
Finally, a girl will like him, and he's gonna die. That's
but from the story
that's too much.
perspective, her being there is what inspired him to think past these just surface level negative thoughts. So I don't have my hopes up. It makes me very sad, but I don't have my hopes up.
He has to. Real Kelsier will help him this time.
Oh, real Kelsier, you still have faith the survivor will return, Sheta?
Well, his voice appeared, or in Spook's head. Maybe with even Ruin personifying himself in Kelsier gave him some real power. Like, everyone's wearing my soul bag. Like, let me wear it too. Like.
I do wonder if belief has any effect on reality here. If we're all energies given by ruin or by preservation,
And
then
Ruin.
we die. Well, the energy itself, is preservation's body. Yeah, they work together to create humanity. Yeah, but the souls, for lack of a better word. It makes me wonder. I'm very curious what happens after you die. Then does it dissipate? Does it go back to its source, or is there some, heaven world out there? But any of that doesn't matter. I wonder if our feelings about faith stuff has any ability to make faith stuff real. Like, I wonder if the entity got personifications before or after we existed. Stuff like that.
Right. I do believe in fairies.
Yeah, kind of. It makes me really wonder if Kelsier becomes a religion, does that have any effect on things for real? Does Kelsier get called back in some way? Or does it have no effect whatsoever? And once you're dead, you're dead. We don't know the rules. Yeah. I'm surprised to learn there was actually a god. So we're venturing unmapped territory so far.
Yeah, I feel just like Elend. Maybe there's hope. Maybe there's something we don't know.
All right, so we will then go on to our theories and predictions segment, and again, towards the end of the books, we are getting less and less questions that I can ask you. So I'll just first I'll just ask you if either of you have any just theories you want to throw out there or predictions.
Well, I had a little theory about the microbes being the mist, and that the energy that they need, the nutrients they need to reproduce is people, souls and stuff, and that they are getting taken by the mist because they were being used, like people with elemency powers and things like that have the nutrients in them and they're being taken to be used up and stuff.
I'm sorry, I thought it was that the nobles weren't taken was what it was, Sheta.
I don't know.
Yep.
Latent ones, maybe?
Yep, so specifically what happens is, so terracemen and nobles, none of them are taken by the mists. And it's not people with noble blood, like a half Ska person. It's literally just like straight up nobles are not taken by the mists.
Aha, see, well, that's where it is. It's these latent powers inside, which would be Ska people. Mixed Ska
people whose powers haven't manifested, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, who haven't snapped.
Well, we do know that the nobles come from the bloodlines the Lord Ruler set up 1 billion years ago, right? Or 1,000, So that could be in play in some way.
Yeah, something.
Or as
like
simple
that.
as elementic power is just stronger than the mists. Could be that too.
Yeah, because the thing looked at Elend's metal bottles, when he asked
why
that
did
question.
It look at that again? I forgot. I'm sorry.
He asked why he was taken, the mist was killing people, and yeah, I think it looked at it.
Well, he's like, he had said something about how the mist is killing people, and the mist spirit, by the way it moved, was telling him it's not killing people. And then Elend's like, no, I've seen you kill people, and then it started like pointing at his metal vials.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because he's turning them into Mistborns. That's my other theory.
The people who fall over dead?
No, they get taken by the mist to become a secret Mistborn army or something, you know.
Hmm. What I was wondering was if the people are being killed by the mist to rebuild preservation, you know, if the energies go
Oh,
back to the
his
source of it.
body?
Yeah, though I think that
Interesting.
would be very sad because that would not be destroying, but it kind of would be destroying. So I don't know if I believe that, you know.
Yeah,
But I don't know what
that's
constitutes as preservation and destruction when it comes to a soul and a body, you know.
yeah, that's true.
So that was my only thought, but it's not strong enough for me to call it a theory.
I don't know, mine are. I'm just talking.
Yep. And then the other stuff with it, that the other information is that, the usual, like, 16% of the people get sick. Out of that 16%, 1/16 of them wind up getting sick for like 2 weeks. And the only ones that seem to be dying are ones that are like old or already sick.
Sounds like a trial.
So it would have to be then something about the ones who have more ruin in them. I assume being sick and dying is having ruin, you know? Like you have
Oh.
less of the energy that gives humans life or whatever.
Hmm.
I I don't know, not enough to put it together, but it makes me curious. I do think that we're going to find out that the people who think that the people who are not getting sick are the ones spared by the mist, I think it's actually going to be a different way around. Maybe what you're saying, maybe they'll all get allomantic powers like you're saying, Sheta.
Yeah.
And you can have Demu doing all this actiony stuff.
Moo. Yeah, yeah. I had a small theory about how Spook's Eastern slang, street slang, like will come into play or for something because Ruin doesn't know how to change it.
What?
Like he'll
Wouldn't he
write
just be able
something
to listen
and
to it and
then
hear it?
he'll be like, I don't know what this is supposed to say. I can't change it. And it's like, that's it. We all have to learn Spook's dialect and then we can
Oh,
communicate.
goodness. The problem is nobody can speak it. Nobody can ever learn how.
I also
Yeah.
liked Beldra being kind of like the anti-Vin with the trusting, you know, with
Being,
her being overly trusting and Vin being not trusting anyone at the beginning, you know.
that's true.
When it was because Spook, it was when Spook was talking about like having a crush on Vin, and I was like, man, he did a 180 with with his crushes,
Hmm.
like with complete opposite of Vin.
That's a good point for the themes.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Oh, I had
yeah.
one more comment.
Okay,
I'm
go.
sorry. Oh, I just wanted to talk about Tensoon's creepy furry hands when he opens the bag.
Yeah, that was something fucking disturbing that was just glossed over really quick. Just because they knew
Yeah.
people would be like, how did he tie a bag to his back? And he says, no, I have special, really disturbing wolf hands. Oh, I did not like that imagery. That was stuck in my head. Whoop, that was stuck in my head for way too long.
Yeah. Just like little furry hands tying a bag closed. Oh, it's good. I really liked it. I gotta draw a picture now.
Please don't.
Man, I just breezed over that. I didn't even think of it. I just thought, all right, yep, furry hands. All right, next.
Oh, God. And if he was like a werewolf, sure, but he's a wolf with little hands that can tie things. That is fucked up, man.
All right. So we're done with part 4. We are very close to finishing this book, only a couple more episodes. So I will do my usual thing. I will ask you now to tell me, how is this book going to end? And keep in mind, it's not just the end of the book, it's the end of the entire trilogy. What is the
Oh my
ending going to be?
gosh. No, I can't even begin to tell you. Like,
Well, there's got to be something in Luthadel. It wants him to go back towards that direction. Um,
well, that
Tensoon
would be
says
the
to stay
well, right?
underground when the Mist leave, right? Um, I think the way the epigraphs talk, it sounds like the world either does end or gets damn close, like within an inch of just ending. So I think things are going to get really, really bad. Um, the details, though, I couldn't even guess. It's some piece. Whatever Tensoon has is the one piece of information we have. It sounds like the Lord Ruler didn't leave the last of what he knew on those slabs. He told it to the Khandra, you know. To guess, I I think it might be as simple as Ruin gets his body, starts rising up, and he's like a giant or something. Like, what's the monster from Fantasia, in the volcano? That's what I'm imagining.
Chernabog?
And, yeah, Chernabog. And Tensoon's going to say, this is where the body is. We got to get there. Vin's going to escape. She's going to learn how to wield the power of the mists through... I don't know what would teach her that. I have no idea.
And soon, right?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe. It'd have to be something like that. And they're just going to storm all the army over there. I don't know how it's going to end with Yoman. There's too many pieces on the board. I don't know how they're going to go. They're going to have a giant final boss fight. That's all. It's going to be the most generic thing ever, and I'm going to wonder why everyone likes this so much. There's my ending.
Gosh. Well, I imagine big battle as well. All the mistaken come back in a big army. They're all like the elven armies coming up at the last second to help
Yeah, I
fight.
forgot to factor that part in. You're right.
What?
Because Vin can wield them, right? Because she can touch the mists or something. Because she's the new preservation. Is that it?
No, I didn't go there, but that's cool. Ruin does seem to have a weird relationship with Vin, so maybe I could see that. She could be the new avatar for preservation,
I'm gonna have to guess she's like the imbalanced person between Ruin and preservation, like something
Yeah.
that can bridge the gap. That would be my only guess on why Ruin's talking with her, that she's the closest he has. The closest he has to talking to preservation, basically.
I just had some thoughts about when Ruin was talking to Vin about just about the Lord Ruler and how preservation locked up Ruin, and then the Lord Ruler was kind of keeping that well safe from anyone who wanted to release Ruin and stuff. So preservation broke a promise and did something unnatural, and I feel like the Lord Ruler and preservation worked to keep Ruin under lock and stuff. And it's weird that the entire world kind of sucked during the Lord Ruler's rule. Like, it was kept like tyrannically the same for all that time. Like, this is how it is. Nobles are like this, Scars do that, obligators do this. Like, this is how the world is, and he kept it really strictly like that. And that's actually a corruption of preservation because they cheated Ruin and stuff, So I think it might be something at the end where, like, we have to let this happen. Like, we can't try to lock Ruin up again, like, because this isn't good, It's just going to end up being like the Lord Ruler because you can't keep things like that. It's not natural. It's not okay, Like, it sucked. There was mist everywhere. People were suffering. They were barely living and stuff. They were just kind of... It was not a good place, So I wonder if it would end like with Ruin taking over ruining the world, but then it's a beautiful thing and it's okay, So it might be everyone letting go in a way that is okay. But it will be very sad still. Because I just sadly I can't see any of our characters really having a future anyway. Like, what is Vin and Elend gonna have kids and live in a cottage or in their castle?
Well,
like
their future would be ideally that they get to live in a non-war time and Elend can put forth more of his, positive ideas he'd like.
Yeah, that seems like a dreamland though,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, anyway, that's sorry. That I think it will just end with something like that, maybe.
Yeah, I don't think the world's going to get destroyed. I think it's going to get basically destroyed, because it's not like we care about a lot of the world, it's not that fleshed out. So you could destroy most of it without pissing us off too much, but they'll probably rebuild it with some, I don't know. I guess I don't know on the energy thing.
All right, and then just like we did for last book, I'm going to go down characters, and you will just tell me, will they live or die?
Oh no. I guess
Well,
my
Sheta
answer
said
was
everyone's
nobody.
going to die.
Yeah.
The whole world's going to
dying.
end. Everyone dies, and happy ending, according to Sheta.
Well, I think that some of them might escape with Hoyd
Is this
into
going to be the end of frickin'
Elantris.
Toy Story 3, Sheta? Is that what you're doing? Where they're all just holding
What?
hands going into the trash grinder because there's nothing they can do?
Yeah,
But
it's
at
okay.
least
We
they
had a good
have each
run.
other in friendship. Yeah, everything must end. Jesus, Sheta.
Yeah.
That just reminds me of a YouTube video I saw once where a guy edited the end of Toy Story. So it's like them going down, they're about to die, and then it fades to black, and then he has the credits just start playing for the movie. So he showed the movie to his mom, and that was the ending that she saw for the first time. She thought all the toys just died.
Oh my gosh.
She didn't find out until the next day when she was talking with like her sister or something, and it's like, what are you talking about? That's not how the movie ended. All right, but all right, so I guess we'll go with the people living or dying thing, and Sheeta can say if they will escape somehow with Hoyd or whatever that was.
Yes, with Hoyd. Hoyd is a
Okay.
magical being.
Well,
Go ahead.
first we'll have to start with the one that you guys already questioned if he's currently alive or dead. So we'll start with Spook.
I
Let's
think
see,
he'll
he
be
ran
alive.
through a burning building, has no idea how much damage he took, and then collapsed after. I'm sorry, Sheta. I think
I
Spook's
think he's
dead, and
dead.
he's gonna be tied into the myth, the religion of the survivor, and it's going to inspire Sazed to see that it doesn't matter what's true or false. He sees how it positively influences people. That is my guess.
Back to his old tricks. Hmm.
Well, he'll see that it's worth preserving these things for that purpose.
Spook's got to live. I just think there's so many things you could do to. I don't know. They couldn't save Kelsier, so I don't know how they're gonna save him. But maybe he'll just be horribly disfigured, but he'll be alive.
All right, and then let's go with Tensoon.
I think Tensoon's going to be fine.
Yeah,
And
I think.
unless
All right, Damu.
Damu's
Damu's
going to
gonna
get powers,
be.
right, Shida?
Yeah, powers. He's gonna be the new Kelsier.
If Damu was going to die, he would have died earlier, I think.
Okay,
I
and
don't
then,
think he's going to get powers, though.
all right, Goradel.
You know what I was about to
Just
ask?
kidding.
Yeah,
Yep.
I was legit about to ask that till I remembered. Cordell, I don't fucking care if Cordell lives or dies.
Wow. Could see him weirdly surviving. I feel like we have a soft spot for him. So.
We.
Not Justin.
I mean, we the people, we the Brandon Sanderson. I think feel like he has a soft spot for Gorodell. Kept him around, and he's got a chipper attitude and stuff.
Mm-hmm. I don't even know what attitude he has. I can never remember him from one scene to the
He's
next.
always smiling and leaning on stuff, just like Kelsier.
Is he?
Remember Sheeta's theory last week that Kelsier had taken over his body or something like that.
Oh no, I forgot.
Okay, what about Yoman?
Yeoman's dead.
Yeoman.
We're gonna learn the revelation about him, and he's gonna die almost soon after. I hope he's gonna die from sacrificing himself to help out, though, because I like.
Yeah,
Yeoman.
I think he might end up being an okay guy, but I'm hoping he's gonna become an ally and a friend. He's not gonna be killed.
Oh, I don't know about that.
All right, and then Set.
Well, Set can't really go into battle, so I think he's gonna be okay. I can't see a use to killing him personally.
Yeah, I think he'll be okay too.
Alrianne.
Oh, they wouldn't have the heart. Don't do that. That'd be monstrous. Jesus.
Yeah, she's okay.
Breeze.
That's a 50-50. Breeze has done so much of this book and last book without a very clear payoff yet. I really wonder. I really hope not, though. I want Breeze to be one of the last guys standing.
Yeah, he's got his personality and his powers make it so that he's kind of apart from that kind of thing. And that's sometimes when they make that character the target, it's very sad, so.
Mm-hmm. But it's also interesting when they're the only one who survives, too.
Yeah, it's mostly interesting because, yeah. So I hope he does survive instead.
All right, Marsh.
Oh, Marsh is dead. No way Marsh gets to live through
He
this.
told us he's gonna. Yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna die and he's gonna be happy.
You know what? He's gonna live and see the first flower pop up and be like, "We did it, Kelsier."
All right, I'm going to have to ask you a simple question, Sheta. How is he going to see that flower?
Well, maybe the Lord. Oh,
He doesn't have eyeballs.
yeah. He'll sense it with his powers.
You said he'd see it. Also, if they've defeated Ruin, I doubt that anyone run by hemalurgy is going to be able to survive, you know. But it did say their brains were changed to survive the spikes, so you know what? Maybe. I could be wrong.
Wait, Sheta, how's Marsh gonna see a flower growing if your theory is that Bruin's gonna destroy the planet?
This is if Plan B works out and they survive somehow.
Plan B is surviving. Okay.
Yeah.
Not a good plan.
Oh, Plan A was for Kelsier. It was always survive.
I suppose.
All right. Ham.
I think it's time for Ham.
Oh my god, I forgot about him. He has done so little this book.
I know, right? Where is he?
He's just in charge of army stuff.
Yeah, he's with Elend.
He's in charge of like the guards and stuff with Elend, because Ham specifically does not want to be a general, so he's with Elend and them in that camp.
I've always been kind of disappointed in Ham, personally.
We're not doing more.
Yeah, he comes in. He's a very big personality. He's very fun in the first book and like bugging Breeze and stuff like that all the time. And then now he's just kind of like, that was the extent of his character growth. Like,
I don't disagree with you, Shita. I feel like Ham could have done a lot more.
yeah, and also
But
be
maybe
like,
he will.
like,
Maybe his tragic
Ham.
death will make up for it.
No, you want to step up and do something? He's like, no, I'm good. I don't want to do anything. I'm like, all right, well, have fun playing second fiddle to freaking Set. Like,
That's the problem. Set's too interesting. He took the role.
yeah, literally in him and Breeze's relationship as well. Not Breeze,
Right,
I'm
next.
sorry. Yeah, but no, never mind.
Next, Sazed.
Osazed's living. I have no doubt in my mind.
Mm.
If anyone lives, I think it'll be Sazed.
Yeah, I could see that.
Unless he dies right after finding faith in some religion. That's the way it could go. And then he thinks, Tyndall, I'll be with you again, or something. Damn it. Damn it. That could be it.
I think I want him to survive. I don't want him to die. That's too lame.
All right. Elend.
I think both Elend and Vin are going to be okay. This doesn't seem like a book that's going to kill off its protagonists. To me, at least.
Yeah. Yeah, they're either both going to die or both going to live. I don't think
and if
one
they
of them
do die, it's going to be one of those deaths where it's more happy and heroic that they died.
And at least they're together.
Yeah, something very positive and uplifting. That's my belief.
Well, then I guess I don't need to ask Vin, because you tied Elend and Vin together.
Yeah, what about you, Shita?
Yeah. Huh? I just said either they're both dying or they're both living.
Well, which is it?
I think they're both dying.
Jesus. You can't say, I think they'll both die or both live, and then not add, but it's going to be die.
All right, and Ruin.
If Preservation died, I think Ruin has to die, so they may both be reborn as new versions of themselves with more balance.
Yeah, balance needs to be brought back into the world.
And what was that name? Abis something? Absalom? Aboleth? Some name like that.
Well, it's not Absalom. Absalom
It's
is a
also not Aboleth.
It's Adenalzium.
Adenalzium, that was it.
Which just sounds like a metal to me.
So I think we're going to learn about a pantheon that we don't know about. I think that's going to be the real big ending. That there's more gods and what is it in Gunslinger Shita? There's other worlds than these. Is that what Jake says? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Something crazy like that, where it's like one drop in an ocean. This whole story, a Cosmere. This book is one drop in an ocean. That's what I imagine.
Yeah.
And something where it ties to the powers in these entities beyond the world, or maybe even just different timelines or something. I don't know. We'll see. I have no fucking clue.
My timeline theory.
something where a guy can fall in a pool. That's all. And then energies go from different worlds and have different effects. That's all I can guess based on what we have so far.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Floyd
those
is
fucking
not.
Elantrians dissipated into that same pool, right?
Yeah,
So where
and
did
then
they go?
Floyd cackled like a crazy guy and jumped into the pool. Like,
Yeah.
and then he showed up here.
There is
So
some power beyond both these places that I'm fully expecting to have explained at the end of this book. I cannot
yes,
possibly fathom how that will satisfactorily go into
it
the narrative
won't.
we're reading, though. Oh, it just won't?
It won't. It never does. Why do you think
No,
there's
it's
like
going to be
50
one of those
books?
things where they save the world and then they learn about some power, you know? And they're like, man, that was crazy. And then they like, but now we know and look at these ancient texts, there's a lot more to know about. That's what I imagine the ending's going to be like, where it's like an ending and a to be continued at the same time.
Yeah, like I said, says it with a hair, closes the book and says,
No, absolutely not that. Not that at all. It truly
right.
was a hero of ages.
All right. And then I guess my last thing I'll ask is who is the person writing the epigraphs?
"Oh, okay, let me check my notes."
Yeah, have we
Alright.
eliminated anyone else, Sheta?
Well, I don't know. I just don't think it's been. I just don't. I just want to cross that off. Just does he just would not talk about Ellen in that way. I don't think. What do you think?
I'm starting to wonder if it's not any of our crew, you know?
It's not.
And it is
It's
just
not.
Hoyd writing it, and that's going to be the
It's Hoyd.
revelation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or somebody like that who's studying all this stuff. But he's a
Hmm.
fucking street urchin, so, or what was it, a street informant, so I don't know if I believe that. If
Yeah.
that's
So he
even the same
says
guy, for all I know, you know.
it. It sounded like him described. Also, that name is. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm torn. It's either going to be somebody watching all this happen who's not fully entrenched, but no, but they no, because they say they learned about that name, and it sounds like they've been learning about this stuff and didn't know it back then. So I actually do think it will be one of the crew, and I'm going to stand by Sazed and all his research into the religions. It turns out a lot of them have some semblance of truth, and he knows more than most people do. That's my current theory.
David.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. That's true. The thing that made us think it was them was that it was like when we killed the Lord Ruler was one
Yeah,
of the
there were
epigraphs.
enough lines that I believe, and it
Oh.
sounds like some knowledge god stuff. So I think whoever's back to the well and takes up the power will know they wrote the book. That's what it'll be. And then saves the world by moving it away from the sun or whatever. And the world becomes too cold.
Yeah, they are going back to the well, so they're either gonna trap Ruin again or kill him, and like you said,
Are they going back to the well?
they're going back to Luthadel. So I just assumed they would.
Oh yeah, I mean that if that's where the thing was pointing.
Well, but the well's empty and it's not going to be filled up for 1,000 years.
Yeah, like I fucking know the rules of the well. Like there's not, oh no, there was another layer below it that had the true power or
A
some. I
second
don't
well.
know the rules. All I know is
Yeah,
that it's a place of power.
yeah.
Or, oh, now that preservation died, the rest of his energy went there. You got to go get it or something. I
Yeah.
don't know.
It's called writing
Or,
powers.
oh, but you didn't know about the second well that's over there where
Wait,
Inouye lives between the two.
so Sheeta, did you have your person that's writing the epigraphs?
Um, Boyd or Spook.
Still on the spook train?
Yeah, he is gonna transcend or something. So
Because the last epigraph said this was all translated from his like nonsensical street slang he wrote it in.
yep, it's all in Eastern dialect. Yep, street slang. Yeah, no, but seriously, I just think it would be too boring if it was just Sazed. But it makes sense because he's all special.
Well, it depends
So
where the story goes. I think you could say it could be boring to be any of the main cast because that means everything was fine all along.
yeah, yeah, I can't imagine it being one of them and having it be satisfying.
We all know it's going to be that guy whose name I already forgot, who you referenced 2
Goradel,
seconds ago.
he's
Yeah,
still on
it's
the
going to be
list. Yeah.
Goradel.
Or Norden. That's the other one that I'm like,
Who the
oh,
fuck is Norden?
Norden?
The obligator?
Yeah. He's kind of like a scribe type. He write,
It's
he's a
not going to be
bookish type.
Norden. I can guarantee that.
All right. Let's move on to our characters of the week.
Spook for me for not going evil and staying true to his personal morals and not giving into the fake kills here.
I'm going to have to 100% agree with you for all the same reasons. I very much respect Spook for not giving into that, seeing past it, and for self-sacrifice to save the city in the way he truly wanted to.
Yeah. He even teamed up with Quellion
And having the
to
intelligence to say all that, yep.
yeah. That was when he truly was like the coolest he'd ever been.
And anyone who rips a frickin' spike out of themselves is pretty badass, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
And for me, I was very close to picking Spook. I was 50-50 between him and Vin, but I will go with Vin. Because even though she wasn't doing any actiony stuff, just the way that she's in the cell, just paying attention to what Ruin says, how he says stuff, and just piecing together. All right, because he said this, that means this. Because he said that means that. Because he doesn't do that, like just figuring everything out without even outright, just pretty cool.
All right, just kidding.
Okay, and then let's go over
She
to
just
the
like
quotes.
incorrect.
Yeah,
Incorrect. It was Spook.
Quotes. My quote is from Ruin, talking with Vin about why he is in the right here. The only point in creating something is to watch it die, like a story that has come to a climax. What I have done will not be fulfilled until the end has arrived. I just really loved his whole argument and how he sees everything, and that's why I think that's why I think that it's all gonna end and it'll be all right. Like everything does need to end, and his thing about destroying things is the only way to make new and create things and stuff. Like things have to die. That's part of life as well. You can't just try to ignore it or run away from it or fight it. Like that's just not how it works. So even though he's talking like a slime here, like I think it's really he has real points that he's making.
But you know what I counter that with is, does he end, or does he go on? Because if he goes on, he's full of shit,
He's never talked about preserving himself though, he's only
Oh
ever
yeah, we
wanted
don't
to
know.
destroy.
Does
Like
a concept like that die naturally, Or will he die without preservation? Because preservation preserved him as well, Lots of interesting things like that. But you are
yeah.
right, it's really cool and interesting to see his perspective on things. I always love when you talk to a god or concept because they're talking in all these ways that people write about, but nobody talks like that for real,
Mhm.
All right. My quote is Elend thinking about Vin. Vin was a person of instinct, while Elend was one of logic and thought. Sometimes it seemed she could do the impossible simply because she didn't stop to think about how impossible it really was. If Elend came to a cliff, he paused, gauging the distance to the other side. Vin went ahead and jumped. I thought that was a really fun way for Elend to think about the difference between the two of them. And it's very, very apt, I'd say. And it's about the balance between them, I think. And, yep, you
They're
could
gonna
have that
become
too. You could have a preservation ruined aspect to it as well, yeah. I didn't think of
sorry.
that
That
till
was a
you thought
loud
of that,
gasp.
Sheta.
I'm
Well, I
sorry.
thought of it at the exact same time you did, but yes. There is something there. The reckless one and the careful one. You find the balance between the two of those, and you can actually do something. Without that, you're just going to die or sit around and do nothing forever.
Yeah. Yep. I wonder if they're gonna have some kind of tragic ass love story where they could never be together.
Except what, once every 10 years for one day he can
Yep.
come back to shore? Is that it?
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, I was not a fan of that in that movie.
What? You didn't like it?
It was
Well,
that or die.
well, actually, the part I didn't like was that with like some explanations like they try to give afterwards that wasn't in the movie, being like, "Yep, since she waited, that means he was allowed to come back to living forever."
Yeah,
It's like,
I remember
that's
that
not
in the
how-
DVD thing. That was stupid. It's also not canon now
It's
because
like-
they made a sequel that touched upon it again. Because that was just the dumbest
All right.
shit.
It's like, and also that's not how the thing worked in the movie. That it.
Yeah, I don't
All
know
right.
why they did that. So weird.
All right, I will give mine, and mine is kind of a sequel. Quote: Elend stood in the darkness. He turned and glanced at his Colossus army, who waited like the trunks of dark trees in the distance. Then he turned back, scanning for any further signs of the Mist Spirit. Finally, he began to tromp his way back to Fadrix. The Colossus followed. He felt stronger. It was silly. The Mist Spirit hadn't really given him any useful information. He had been almost like a child. Things they had told him were mostly confirmations of what he'd already suspected. Yet as he walked, he moved with more determination. Because he knew there were things in the world he didn't understand. That meant that perhaps there were possibilities he didn't see. Possibilities for survival. Possibilities on the side of the chasm, even when logic told him not to jump. I like it because it's like, you've been seeing Elend kind of trying to figure out what to do, especially the last chapter with him fighting all the Colossus, killing and just being down. Then now he's back up with determination. It's like, all right, I don't understand everything, but that means that there is a chance for survival, even if I don't see it.
That's a really interesting way to look at the unknown. Most people look at that and get freaked out. It's really interesting to think, well, I don't know. Maybe I could live, you know?
Yeah. For him, I like that because you're like, I don't know what's out there. A bunch of weird stuff's been coming up like this every day. So maybe there's something we will learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So now we'll go over to some comments that we have gotten. First, one on Spotify. This was added onto the bonus episode we had to release last week, which was the Final Empire 1-star reviews.
Oh no.
So this comment was from
Oh,
Daniel.
don't tell me it's a guy saying, why were you so mean to my review?
All right. Daniel's comment. It's clear that some people have the reading comprehension of an earthworm.
You know, bro, I think you're giving way too much credit to some of these people.
All right. And then our other comments on the episode for Here Ages, chapters 45 through 51. So, first there's one from Blue Shark 85 that because it talks stuff that kind of has to do with the end of the book. So I'll bring it up when we get to the end.
Ooh, okay.
Right. Next one is from Collector 128. I always like listening to your show. I'm currently sick with the flu, and this has made my day a little bit better. Thank you.
Aw, I'm glad. Sucks
Yeah,
to be sick.
I hate getting the flu. I like having something to watch or listen to while I have it, though. It does make it go by a little better.
All right. And then next, we have a couple different comments from Krinko Shade. First one, I keep forgetting how short chapters are in Hero of Ages. Every time a new episode drops, I think, they will talk about this cool thing today, and chapters cut short before it happens.
Gosh. Yeah.
Well, that's funny because almost every episode when we do the next one, I think, wow, it was super cool. So, yeah, I can imagine that being very frustrating.
And then Krinko Shade's other comment, where would be the best place to hide Kelsier? In Orsier, of course.
Ugh, gross.
From Reader Warrior. My favorite piece of candy is probably those mint chocolates you get at Olive Garden. My favorite soda is Great Nehi.
I've never even heard of that.
Those mints are really good. I like them too. But that's not a candy. That's a palate refresher though. That's kind of sad.
That's still candy.
It's chocolate, I guess, but
I'm going to have to be right down the middle. I have both opinions.
yeah.
All right, Vin is also just more elementically powerful than should be. Remember when she and Kelsier had that pushing match and she was able to hold her own even though Kelsier was heavier? It's because elementic strength does have an impact, i.e. Elend's soothing abilities versus Vin's.
Mm.
Don't forget that Vin herself said the best lies have truth in them. Also, I highly recommend going back to books 1 and 2 and try to see which times are Ruin whispering in her mind.
Ooh, I really want to do that.
I'm going to let somebody else do that for me and read it up because I'm sure somebody's compiled it, but I'm very curious. I'm specifically not doing it before we finish, though, because I'm sure that would reveal some things about what Ruin's grand plan is and what he wants and doesn't want.
Well, yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I try not to look anything up.
Yeah,
Or
I'm
I
very
don't look
curious.
anything up. That sounds fun.
All right, next, most of Rashik's actions were him being a horrible person.
That's just an opinion, as Sheta always says.
What?
Rashik did nothing wrong, right, Sheta?
I never said that.
You say it all the time.
Hessa sounds so good now.
What?
Yeah, I don't know what Hess says or who Hess is.
Maybe it's Hisa. Maybe it's poking fun at Justin's mic and his wad voice.
Oh, I see.
Oh my god, I forgot about that. Oh no.
God.
Okay. I get you. Well,
All
I'm
right.
glad somebody likes my real voice. I'm not allowed to use it anymore.
All right, and then this part of the comment I'm gonna wait until we're at the end of the book because he does have a longer thing about the Lord Ruler. But like I said last week, because I kind of want to jump if we have a discussion, so I'll wait to bring this up until then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. Next,
Gatekeeping.
and Zane didn't cross the line.
You have to remind me.
I can't remember when. People.
Another Zane did nothing wrong from Sheta.
Wait. No. I'm gonna guess it's because Sheta was saying that Spook was getting creepier and maybe he was crossing the line there. Is what I would guess.
Yeah.
Yes, Sheta was full of hypocrisy last time on that.
Okay, there's a bad boy and there's creep. So you gotta.
That's like the joke.
You gotta watch.
Sheta, that's like the joke from like Sunny and stuff, where they're like, "Imagine this guy says, hey, how you doing?' And it's like a handsome guy.
Yeah,
now imagine this guy, and it's Cricket, and it's like, see, big difference.
Yeah, it's the ratio of like ugliness or something like that, like attractiveness scale or something. Though, yeah.
All right. Elend is my blood-soaked cinnamon.
What?
Well, because Elend was covered in blood and stuff last week.
He's a cinnamon roll? Is that what it was?
Yeah, blood-soaked cinnamon roll.
Why was he a cinnamon roll? Is he a treat?
That would be my only guess. I liked Elend back when he was a greasy, dirty bookworm better. I don't need this cleaned up guy.
All right. Next is a reaction to a quote one of you said, where you said, "It would be kind of fun if Vin woke up on a table." You and I have vastly different views on fun.
That's Justin.
That sounds like me.
So Ruin is Ares from the Wonder Woman movie?
Basically, he's manipulating this war everywhere. He's influencing minds. It's basically the same character, yeah, I'd say.
Oh, yeah.
It does make me, I did also think, I didn't quite say it before, but I did think the power of love might beat him with what I was saying before about Ruin not being able to maybe understand these deeper feelings, you know? But if they all just hold hands and then they sing Dabu Doris while Ruin just has his heart grow 3 sizes up in the mountain, that might be kind of a corny ending.
You're supposed to kill each other. And they just sing and hold hands.
But then Ruin's heart grew 3 sizes that day. And he brings Christmas back to Luthadel. What a wonderful ending.
Ew. No.
Ruin's speech reminds me of Kang's monologue in Earth's Mightiest Heroes, when he shows the Avengers the future and how Earth was destroyed. Sure, they may be right, but as Tony said, he's being a real jerk about it. Take him!
You missed one of the best parts of the show.
Yeah, that's good.
You guys do go through the books a lot faster than we do.
Do we? Feels like
Well, we don't take 10 hours talking about theories based on other things because we haven't read them yet. So we got a lot less to talk about.
Yeah, his podcast, they're able to go a lot more in depth on the chapters, so they have to do less in order to make it fit. And in comparison to other podcasts that are doing first-time reads that are out there, personally, I just could not do like just 2 or 3 chapters a week. I need to get more content in.
I wouldn't want to just read 2 chapters a week. That would be so frustrating.
It's already frustrating enough for me.
Like she'd have said, at a normal book pace, we would have been done a long fucking time ago.
Yeah, I think out of all the podcasts that I checked, I think we do about the same pace as other podcasts that was called Following Noadon. Because when I've compared how they read stuff to where we have certain books tracked, it's about the same.
Okay.
And then the end of his comment, mayhaps Lady Kliss and Melend ran away together.
What
They'll
is
be
Melon?
back. I don't know who Melon is.
Well, I brought up last week, it was a character that Reader Warrior on their podcast, Cosmere Connections, kept bringing up as
Oh,
kind of a
yeah.
joke. Because he was mentioned one time, and he was like the first person that Vin danced with at one of the parties.
Oh yeah,
And it's just
yeah.
Elend's name with the letter M in front of it, so they just made fun of his name.
Lady Kliss has better taste than that.
I thought that was just a made up joke, but Melon is a real character, right? That's too funny.
Character in it.
Yeah.
It's a name of a person in the book, but he's not really a character.
Yeah, but still, that's funny. It's like that's just Elend with an M. Oh, it's funny.
Maybe
Elend
it
puts
was
on a
Elend
fake
in
mustache.
disguise. Yeah, because he was too shy to go dance with her.
Oh my god.
She's
That's
so
hilarious.
beautiful, but I could never. Oh, it's like Stefan and Steve
Yeah.
Urkel. That's what it's like, Sheta.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So is Melend the Steve Urkel or the Stefan Urkel? Which one's
He's the
Melend
Stefan.
and which one's Elend?
He's Stefan. Melon is, of
Yeah.
course, the Stefan.
He's the cool
He's
one.
got all the
and
moves.
now that's why he's cool now, because he's secret. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore.
All right. So thanks everybody for the comments and all that.
Yeah.
So looking forward to next week's episode. Next week we'll be reading 5 of the book, and we'll be reading chapters 59 through 65. All right. And now it's time to go into plugs. You know what?
Oh yeah. Yeah, do it for us
Justin,
again.
you will say all the plugs.
All the plugs?
Yes.
Yep. Hey, I did it for you guys a couple weeks ago. It's your turn to do it.
All right. If you want to see some kick-ass art and some cool cosplay, you can follow Mermaid Machete or Sheta Low. One with an underscore, the other not. You can figure out which one at your own fun on Instagram, and I think that's it. There's a couple pictures on the DeviantArt if you want to go there. But they are all amazing, and you should go look at that. If you want to follow this podcast, you go to Cosmere Chronicles. Yeah, at Key, a most ancient letter, as well as that other one nobody goes to, so I won't bother saying it. And YouTube. You can go watch on YouTube if you don't watch on YouTube, or Spotify, or any of those. Very exciting. And also, you can go look at some stuff that's okay on Profanity Beaver. There's the plugs.
Yay.
Yep. All right. And then I said it last week, if anybody has any questions you want to have us answer for our wrap-up episode, that'll be in a couple weeks, leave a comment, Spotify are easy ways I can find it, or send us an email, cosmerechronicles@gmail.com, with questions. Questions you have about book, Mistborn in total, or what, maybe about what Justin Sheta might be hoping for in the future. Curious about the book. Next book is Warbreaker, so if you're reading along, if you need to go out and buy it, go ahead and do that. Yep, so that's going to be it for our episode. Be sure to come back next week for those chapters. And if you listened to me 2 weeks ago when I told you to go out and get married, even to people you don't know, do that. I would highly recommend to quickly go get divorced if you took marriage advice from me last week or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that was a terrible idea. That was stupid. You shouldn't have done
What
that.
if they're happy?
They're not.
What if they're like, what the heck? Let's do it. Okay. Now now he's saying get divorced. What should we do?
Well, we took his advice last time, so let's take it this time. Yep. So take advice, do that, eat at White Castle, and go out and have fun. Bye.
Bye-bye.
It's what you crave.